All right. Well, this point forward, guys, everything's recorded. Which doesn't mean be quiet.
Okay. How long have you been doing this podcast, gentlemen?
We were arguing about that the other day.
Yeah, we were.
Is it 2016 or 17?
I think so. Um,
Nice.
I mean, definitely 16. So, yeah.
Well, we just
So what?
celebrated
4,
our
5, 6. I mean, hard to believe it's been like six plus years. God.
well, we also just celebrated our 18th birthday as a dealership community.
Yeah.
Nice. Good.
We're gonna have to do something for the 20 year if we're still around.
Yeah. We'll still be around. The only way we're not around is if something very drastic happens on the planet.
Aliens will be landing.
That might happen. Any plans for the weekend, Scott?
It's going to be raining here and cold, so no. Last week was like 70 and perfect, and I was on my Harley listening to some good music cruising around. So it's this week's not quite as fun. How about you guys?
Same here. It's it's a shitty day here. Nothing but rain. I think it looks like most of the weekend's going to be consist of about the same. So I'll probably be doing. I have a evaporator fan in my old refrigerator. I need to replace. So hopefully I part arrives, and that's what I'm little side project for the weekend.
They got people for that.
They do. It's a 30-plus-year-old refrigerator because they don't make them the way they used to.
Yeah.
And I got it. I was like, this is easy. It's not
Yep.
much to it.
Well, I'll be getting the cars out of winter mode. So switching out wheels and putting on wax on, wax off, and all that good stuff.
I need to do that with my snowblower that I didn't use it all this year.
Well, here we go, fellas. Be glad you didn't use the snowblower.
Yeah, well, I knew if I bought it, we would get the snow would never come. So I bought it 2 years ago. I've used it once, and that was because I forced myself to use it. So, but I knew if I went ahead and bought one, that we probably wouldn't get any snow for a while. That was right.
Well, welcome today to Juan and Dan, who are representing NIADA, which is
Thank you.
as not
Welcome,
actual employees, but as members, which we thought was pretty cool when NIADA said, you know what? We're not going to bring our own staff on to talk about us. We're going to have our members, our dealers, do it for us. And hopefully I'll say nice things about them. So, Juan, if you don't mind kicking us off with who you are, what stores you have, and how long you've been with NIADA as a member.
All right, my name is Juan Sabillon, and I am with Mi Tierra Sales in Houston. We operate a couple of stores and been in the business for 35 years. 24 of those on my own at Mi Tierra. We got like about 1,800 accounts, and operate those two stores. One store is in Houston, the other one is in Pasadena, but it's not about 10, 12 miles away. So that's what we got.
Nice. And how long have you been with NIADA?
I'll say somewhere around 28, 30 years.
All right. So you're not new.
Yeah.
Dan?
Only like about 35 years in business altogether.
Yeah. Long time.
My name is Dan Reel. I have 2 retail locations in Northeast Ohio, just east of Cleveland. We've been in business now for 25 years, and I've been part of the business for 20 years. I'm the sole owner, just retail. I've been a member of NIADA since 2009, I believe. So a few years less than our friend Juan. Um, I wish I would have joined it sooner, honestly, and that's not a pitch, but that it changed my life drastically. Um, so I'm a firm believer in it. So yeah, with two retail stores, we usually keep about 150 vehicles in stock between the two collectively. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, and we have 2 service centers and a reconditioning center too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So when you say it's had such an impact, I'm just curious, like how?
For myself as a young man at the time in 2009, I was I think I just turned 30. Um, my background, I was in the military. I didn't have any car training experience. I joined a family business that was a small gravel lot, buy here, pay here. I didn't know squat about the car business. So I joined our state association here in Ohio, which was amazing, and I was able to luckily be a board member for the Ohio from the bottom seat all the way to the president. And as a young man, it allowed me to network with people that were substantially better than me, and I had to be humbled. And I seen a lot of these guys in action, and next thing you know, I was like, "Hey, would you mind if I come and shadowed your guys at the store? I'll bring my clipboard. I won't talk to you. I won't bug you." And I did that. I would go around the state of Ohio into
Really?
the nearby states, and I would just be a fly on the wall, and I'd take notes. And I went back and I deployed as many of those ideas as I could successfully. So I learned from others'
That's
mistakes,
awesome.
and I learned from their successes too.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
That's great.
And your background there, is that for making custom balloons or picking car colors, as Juan was pointing out earlier?
Yeah.
It's kind of wrapping business.
Yeah. So my wife and I, we are car dealers through and through, but we own 6 other businesses, and one of them is the one I'm sitting in, which is it's called Sensations. It's in Orwell, Ohio, and we do not plugging a commercial, but we do a lot of apparel and promotional items for car dealers. A lot of my vendor friends, I do
Oh, wow.
I do their stuff as well, and yeah. So if you want your name on it, we could do it. That's pretty much what all that behind me is. So
Very cool. 6 other businesses?
yes,
Sheesh,
sir.
how do you have time?
I don't know. I mean, I just work part time, 70, 80 hours a week, right?
I hear you.
And Juan, in your background, you got one of those millennial stumping machines that looks like you like type on it and you hit a button and numbers print out on a printer. What do you use that thing for?
Calculator.
It's called a calculator.
Ah,
We don't use it no more. Right? I guess it got on the desk 20 years ago and
Nice little
stayed there. Um,
display
right
heirloom.
after school, right after school, I came into to the Houston area, and I did like about a year in working on a real estate company. And I was working as an accountant. So I did go to school for business administration, and shortly after, I started working. I met a good friend that was working for a car dealership, for a new car dealership. And back in the day, he showed me how much he had made, up to May. And I said, like, maybe I'm in the wrong business. So they gave me an opportunity to go to work at this new car dealership. It was merely because I was bilingual and I was translating, how to do the closings on Sundays. This dealership was open on Sundays. And shortly after, I had an opportunity to talk to the owner. And I went and I told him, sir, how about if all these trade-ins that we have here, less than $1,500 ACV, we go and we sell them at the lot that you had closer to downtown for $4,117, $295 down plus CTNL, 78 payments, $49 a week. And 10 years later, I left the company with somewhere around $45 million on AR and became independent.
Good for you. That's a good story.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is a good one. All with that calculator, right? $49 million of calculations.
Yeah.
That's definitely taken me back. It's when I was selling cars, that was basically how we did all our payments.
Yep.
Yep.
Everyone had one of those on their desk.
Yeah, except leases.
Yeah, I remember the time where the contracts, they were being done by hand.
Yep.
And we had to do the contracts, The only good thing about it is that there was no interest involved in it, so it was fairly easy to calculate. But that was the way that we had it back in the day.
Yep.
Fat finger it.
It's a really impressive story, Juan. Really impressive.
Yeah.
Well, also impressive is our sponsor for today, the one who brought us all together, NIADA. And this June, there's a conference coming up in wonderful Vegas, right?
Yep.
At the Wynn.
Right.
And we need to hear how they're going to get everyone off the golf course to go inside and pay attention to what people have to say, right?
That's right. The golf course is behind the Wynn, right?
I hear it's pretty good.
I forgot about that. Well, I know if you take what the AmRail, it actually goes parallel with much of the golf course. It's actually pretty neat. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's not a cheap day of golf from what I understand either. Yeah. So 50 days away from the conference, I believe. We have 51 days, 22 hours, 47 minutes, and 33 seconds to be exact.
Okay.
If you're wondering where I get that, that's from the webpage.
Yeah.
But so at the conference, there's education, especially around compliance, which is a pretty hot topic. In fact, Juan, I believe you said when we were catching up on today, you said something to the effect that compliance and vehicle acquisition were the two main things that you're focused on this year.
For us dealers, education is real important, but compliance, has been on the radar for the last 4 years, and for the last 2 years during COVID and post-COVID, acquisition has been a main topic for all of us, and has affected us in a big way also, but I understand, we're going to have a good compliance coverage, marketing, data analytics, dealership operations. And I understand that we have a series, about 70 sessions, for the buy here, pay here sector, and the buy here, lease here sector, and also for the retail space. So, but one of the best things about the conference to me, is the networking opportunities, meet with your peers and exhibitors, the receptions, the dinners, meeting at the expo hall, and that is exactly, where relationships are built on, those talks at the expo hall. The platform that NIADA is putting for us as dealers, it will give us the opportunity to go out there, and voice our whatever situations we're going through, and let our leaders at NIADA know what's going on each sector of our industry. The buy here, pay here, the lease here, pay here. The retail operations, and certainly I am eager to hear about the compliance, and also about the new opportunities how to acquire better inventory, with for our dealerships.
I'm not overly familiar with buy here, pay here, just from, discussions in the forums. I've got a good friend that owns a dealer group And he's got, when they acquired that group, it had a buy here, pay here. I went up and visited him a few times, so I'm not overly familiar. But on the compliance issue with that, I would suspect that it probably gets pretty granular with the different rules around compliance for buy here, pay here. Would I be wrong in saying that? And have you guys ever had to deal with any issues on that front?
Well, we never had to. We have we are obviously, the way I feel it, we are overregulated. We have
Mm-hmm.
beside in the state of Texas, besides having the FTC and the CFPB, we have the OCCC, that is the Office of Consumer Credit Commissioner. So
Okay.
those are visits that we get like almost like every 3 to 4 years. So we might have a slight advantage over some other dealerships in the nation, having the OCCC, due to the fact that it's pretty much, like what the FTC comes and takes a look out. So there is a little more um, rules and regulations for the buy here, pay here, but they've been in place for a while. Right now we're just wondering, how the new safeguard is going to be able to impact us. We already have been through the seminar, to instruct each one of our employees what the safeguard rules are all about. And be able to comply with that.
Also, the Grand Bleach Liley legislation that's coming too, which is a more data focused one. So being able to get familiar with that too. And I believe there's two others on the horizon that aren't, I think they're up for debate at the moment. They're not enacted yet or signed off on, but could also bring some more, as you put it, over regulation that we all have to deal with. That also,
Yeah.
I believe, is stuff that NIADA will be talking about at the conference, or at
It's
least
funny when
networking
you
Yeah.
will bring some of it up.
it's funny when you
Yeah.
mention
As
all
well.
these compliance things, because without that networking, without the ability to go in and talk to other dealers and listen to the seminars, how the heck's a dealer going to know about every one of these compliance things? So that's why it's so crucial. It's overwhelming for a small business to try to accommodate everything, but then you get a compliance officer in house or something. But it's good to be able to have that knowledge available in, through the association.
Well, isn't that one of the things the
As
association
well
can
as
help?
Dan, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I was just going to say, I think the association can help without uh, needing each individual dealership to go out and hire a compliance officer. That being with the association can really help curb that
Mm-hmm.
kind of hire. Go ahead,
As
Juan.
well as
Sorry.
as well as Dan, I through the years, I've been a part of the my local and state association, and as well as Dan, I got to be president of the association, the state association. And one of the things that I want everybody to understand, out there, is that uh, in the association, we spend a great deal of time and resources fighting legislation that we feel is gonna be detrimental for the industry. But we only heard, the big pieces of legislation that they get passed in our favor. But a vast majority of the time is spent on getting legislation, that will be detrimental to the industry. Let me give you just a quick example. The day before yesterday, and like about a month ago, I was invited to go to the floor of the Congress in the state of Texas and explain to them, how it will be detrimental, this new law that they are trying to pass about the 10-year-old vehicles, that they can send them to the scrap metal, without any notification or with a short notification if they find out that there is a lien holder. So I couldn't go, and I sent my daughter in there, and twice already she had to go and be able to explain to them why a 10-year-old vehicle still out there on the road. As a matter of fact, I think nationwide we are somewhere around 13 years old
I think it's
vehicle that is being
12.4
driven.
now.
Yeah, 12.4. So if you have a vehicle that is more than 10 years, you know, I mean, very easily they could send it to the scrap place and disappear from your radar, you know, I mean, and you can go and look for the vehicle, you know, I mean, and it will be in a pile of iron somewhere. So those are the type of things, you know, that as an association, you know, we are so proactive, you know, trying to get those detrimental pieces of legislation, you know, out off the table, you know, and we don't hear as much as the ones that we create, but we spend a lot of time getting the detrimental bills off the table, you know, in the state Congress and nationwide.
I have to ask, because do you mind explaining that one a little bit more? So what constitutes the state's right in this case, they believe, to take a 10-year-old vehicle and trash it?
The whole thing in the state of Texas is that it's not like they started as an environmental type of deal, you know, that it would be nice to have all these vehicles that are polluting the air, you know, I mean, off the roads on the state. But down the road, we found out that the industry that is putting this bill in front of the state legislators, and you know, every other year, were the scrap metal people. Well, the scrap metal people, you know, the majority of these guys, you know, I mean, that they are not American based. They are foreign entities, you know, that they come and they buy those vehicles and they go out of the United States, you know, I mean, as a form of scrap metal, you know, and they go out. Well, these people, they have a lot of influence in the market, and that's why we see those bills in there. But basically, it's like any 10-year-old vehicle that they find out there on a parking lot or an abandoned place, or let's say that one of my customers leaves a vehicle, you know, in a place that they should not have to, and this vehicle gets into an impound. That impound has, I think it's like 2 weeks to find out who I am. And if they don't find me, and if I don't respond timely, they will get the car and they will just scrap it.
Wow.
And my account will be just like out. So it's very detrimental for our people, you know. And one of the things that I always seen in these situations is that they might start this thing in Texas, and 2, 3, 4, 5 months down the road, I can hear it, you know, that it's happening in California, and then you know, I mean, it rolls over, you know, to the other states. So it's really important, you know, for us to go out there and stop this thing from the beginning, and not really let it roll for the rest of the states.
Yeah, and that's the need for NIADAs and NADAs for their lobbying efforts, for sure.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yep.
And those
always follow that money. Find out who's at the back of that legislation.
And those efforts,
right?
those efforts are made, you know, I mean, statewide and nationwide. You know, we always go every other year, you know, I mean, to Washington to our lobbying day, you know, I mean, and we have to deal with a whole bunch of issues that we have to explain to some of the legislative people in there, you know, I mean, and you would have thought that, you know, I mean, hey, you know, so and so is a legislator or is a senator, and they might be voting on some issues related to the car industry, but they have no idea what we do, guys.
No,
they have no idea. And if they don't listen to us, if we don't know, if we don't go and let our voice being heard, we're left out of the party.
You have to let your
Yeah,
voice
it's
be heard all the time too. Like I'm not going to name the name, but I went. NIADA has a day on the Hill where they go and lobby in DC on behalf of car dealers, and there's a certain politician from New York, and we went to go talk to him, a whole group of us, and he told us car dealers to wait out in the lobby. He had to talk to the kombucha tea people. It's more important, So like, it's not only that you have to be heard, you have to be heard consistently.
Yeah.
You have to
Correct.
go over and over and over and build those grassroots relationships that last for their terms and hopefully the next term.
well, we had Drew on last week. He's I guess the session's coming up here pretty soon because he said he was going to be in DC to deal with some of these issues as well.
Yeah, that's the third piece of legislation that's up for debate. Um, and I think that might be different than what NIADA is going to have a panel on or workshop
Mm-hmm.
on or anything about, because that's not coming yet. But that particular one is the cookie crusher, basically, for
Oh, that's right.
advertising
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
purposes. So remove all the tracking capabilities and the ability to target customers. So
Yeah.
if anybody uses paid search, banner ads, or uses social media for any kind of advertising, and you're trying to hit people that are like actively in the market for a car, you wouldn't be able to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So you just have to broadly spend your dollars and maybe get lucky.
Yeah.
What's
Well,
I'm curious, which between you two, what's your main focus of marketing? Do you guys do a lot of online marketing, digital, or do you sort of stick to maybe some of the more traditional, TV, radio?
So we have different businesses.
that,
So I'm on the retail side. So the majority of our marketing is third party platforms with a dash of Google and social. But we do all
Okay.
the cars and auto traders and cars.com and basically you name it, we're on it. And it's not cheap, uh,
No.
but it is what it is. We don't do radio, and if we do, it's very very seldomly. We've never been on a TV commercial in 25 years. Don't plan on it. That's us. How about you, Juan?
Okay.
Well, real quick, you said
uh,
radio.
Mm-hmm.
Anything AM?
No, I actually just got presented an offer for AM radio, but like radio to me, it's kind of it's dying. I hate to say it, like who listens to the radio anymore? Everybody's listening. When I drive a lot, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to books. I'm listening to every once in a while you listen to music, and if it is, it's on your own playlist. You're not
Hmm.
you're not tuning into the radio stations. I mean, it's
Yeah,
a
it's pretty
sad reality of
specific to.
technology. Hmm.
Yeah, it's that
I,
it's we've got some pretty solid AM stations around here, but we're right outside DC Beltway. So of course they're all AM. They're typically very political. But also, I swear I just read something, and maybe that's why you brought it up, Alex. I swear I read something about they're trying to phase out AM radio.
Correct.
Yeah,
That is why I brought it up.
mind
So
reader.
it's another thing that's going on in Washington, D.C. right now.
Yeah, and I guess
for
some
the
could view
last,
that as a form of censorship.
I think from 2088 to about 2012, that we were on TV, every single week. We were born, that doing TV. I was doing TV before, and it is the fastest way of how to get some results on the books. However, that for the last 10 years, everybody learned about that, and now a commercial that I'll pay, $400 or $500 for in the news now is like $2,500. So it's
Hmm.
prohibited for me to go back on TV. So like about 8 years ago, uh, my kids were getting out of school and all that, and they helped us out to join in the business. And all of a sudden they said, "Hey, listen, we're spending too much money on TV. That's the old way. So now we're gonna have a BDC uh, and through BDC, and some digital advertising and some organic advertising, we're going to start doing a business. And that's exactly the way we've been doing it for the last 5 years. So we do
Really?
have a business development center where we receive every single phone call, and it gets channeled, through sales and all that through them. They make the appointment, so about 90% of the sales that we got are done by appointment nowadays, which is a little bit different, from before. Used to wait for Friday and Saturday to have the good days, and we'll go on. So now it's by appointment, and we have better numbers, I guess, in general. But at the end, I never felt any other media as strong as what the TV used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And Juan, is your primary customer Spanish speaking?
I wish.
I was just thinking
For the
about your
first,
BDC for a minute there, and
Yeah, for the
how,
first,
how appealing that would be.
yeah, out of 24 years, that we've been in business, for probably the first 15 years, it was primarily, Hispanic business. And when everybody else learned that they pay fairly good, then the competition, it really started, So we had to open up a little more. And it's not only Hispanic business, but whatever business we can get.
I think fairly
You
good
think
is an understatement.
it's an understatement?
It is. Yeah, I've never when I did buy here pay here for 17 years, and I've never ever had a person of Hispanic descent get repossessed. And I don't mean to generalize and be broad about it, but I've never ever had that. It's like the payments were always like just spectacular. So
Yeah. The only problem is that when everybody learned about that, then they
mhm.
were fighting for the segment,
Yeah,
on TV, on radio, on media, and then it became really, really expensive to get them in.
sure.
I remember, what was that, maybe 10, 12 years ago? A lot of the website vendors were advertising, they would have some type of feature. You'd have two sites. You'd have, Spanish site and then your
Yeah,
usual site. I remember that was a big push.
it
And
still is kind of that in the
is it?
yeah, and also
Right.
the website pushing the handicap accessible sites, which is important.
That's, yep.
But going back
Yep.
to what Juan said when he said, I wish, the one thing that I will say, and this happens with almost any demographic, but and especially with Hispanic population, if you earn their family's trust, you earn their business for
Hmm.
life. I mean,
Yes.
that's
Very
and in
loyal.
my experience, it's been a loyal friendship, So
Hmm.
uh, yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yep. That's
That's
always
pretty
been very
much
true.
pretty much.
Hmm. And Juan, I spent some time on your website, and that's what led me to ask that question, because it's Spanish first, and you have to flip it over to English.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, we have not done much to our website in a good while, but the Hispanic community has proven, through the years to be a uh, pretty good business, pretty good
Hmm.
portfolio. It's just harder and harder to get them, and the new generations that are coming in, you cannot measure them, with the same way that we used to back in the day. So
Yeah.
you can learn some hard lessons on that too.
I think every culture's dealing with that.
Every culture. Yes.
I wonder if
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
workshop for that in Vegas.
What's surprisingly, there are workshops like that. I attended a workshop at NIADA a few years back, and it was about how to understand the emails or the text from the clients, and all the lingo that came over because, I got a 13-year-old at home and an 11-year-old at home, and these phrases they come up with, I have to go on my phone and like say, what the heck is that? What are they talking about? So yeah, it's important.
I'm part of that club.
Yeah. Yeah. And my son walks around doing this stupid gritty dance all the time. I'm like, what is that, man? What are you doing? Like, you want to smack him, but you can't because that's like abuse now, you know?
That too. Yep.
Yeah, I do my best to keep up with stuff as much as I can. And a lot of times, like, my kids will say something because my son's 19 and my daughter's 15, and they'll say something and I'll know what it is. I'm like, damn it, Dad, can't get anything past you. It's like, that's right. That's right. I know all the lingo. I may not speak it, but I know what it is. Sus.
That's just because Jeff's Arrested Development. He hit 21 and just stopped.
Yeah.
That's what I tell myself.
So we've got compliance. We hit on that quite a bit. And then in vehicle acquisition, of course, it's been such a hard topic and hard fight for the last almost 3 years now. And that doesn't seem to be getting any better.
I'd love to know what you gentlemen are doing with that.
I will say this. It's a great time to be an independent dealer. And the reason it's a great time, and even the franchise guys listening, maybe they'll learn from this. This is a great time to be an independent dealer because we do one thing really, really well, and that's buy cars. Because we're smaller operations. We've always bought cars. Now you look at the franchise stores that aren't getting fed from the factories. They're struggling. I'm selling more cars to franchise dealers than ever right now because they don't know how to buy cars. They don't know how to do it in a cost-effective manner either. They're buying cars across the country, paying $1,000 transport, going through a recon to make them, a certified pre-owned. This is a great time to be a dealer. So, like I have a lot of friends that they struggle with buying inventory too. But for the most part, most independent dealers, we're really resilient people. We're not going. If one auction's short on inventory, we're not stopping there. We're going to the next one. We're going to go find other avenues. We're going to put signs in front of our stores. We're going to be aggressive about it, and that's one thing the franchise guys they haven't. I figured by now most of them would have picked up, and you see buying centers pop up, right?
Yeah, you've got a few of them out there.
Yeah, we have a buying center as well, and I'll tell you, it's not traditionally as big as some, but it's doing well, and you just gotta reinvent the wheel a little bit in times like this.
What have you done specifically?
Well, specifically, obviously, we used to go. I used to get probably 75% of my inventory from two sales, and now I'm traveling more, or having other people within the company look for vehicles outside of our normal comfort zone. Whether it's a geographic area or those particular sales. We are a KBB buying center as well, so we do the Kelley Blue Book where people will send in their VINs, they bring the cars, we buy them. We have signs. Obviously, the company I was telling you I owned in the back, so we put together signs at both of our dealerships saying we buy cars. Like and surprisingly, everybody says we buy cars, but like they drive traffic. They drive traffic for sure.
You got to have a process for doing it too.
And we have a really, really tight process. So when that car comes in, as opposed to going to a franchise store where they take the car in the back and do a 150-point inspection and beat the person up on a $20,000 car down to 12 or 13 grand, I'm giving them as close to their offer as possible. So, and oftentimes more, because we're saving the headache. We're getting a clean car, Carfax one owner vehicle or whatever it is. But we're in control of that process pretty well.
Now, do you have on-site service?
We do. Both locations.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. Nice.
So every car that we buy is going to get a quick mechanical inspection. We want to make sure, obviously, we're up north. You worry about rust. You got to worry about, leaks and stuff that's completely destroyed. But every car gets an inspection, and I'm going to know an estimated cost of recon before it hits the lot. Yeah.
That's a good question, Jeff. I think that is also a big topic for the event too. Is service bays and actually, looking at this, they'll have some industry partners to be able to talk about that one too.
We're where I live, I'm right on the border of Maryland, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. And both West Virginia, I don't know what Maryland does so wrong. Well, I do. But both PA and West Virginia, I guess, have much looser laws when it comes down to owning a used car dealership, whether it's buy here, pay here, or whatever. And I see a bunch of them are advertising, um, the you know the ability to purchase the car from the consumer, but more importantly, a lot of them have been growing and building separate service facilities.
It makes sense. The belief amongst the consumer is the franchise dealership is the stealership, and they're going to be charging the most for maintenance and service. So the independent shops are seen, and that's a very fast growing segment. You go to places like where I'm from in Virginia Beach, or where I'm from originally, and I think there's more independent service shops going up than pharmacies. So just something to be said there. It might even be more than 7-Elevens now. But can
we see? I wanted to see how Juan's acquiring his inventory right now. If we can go back to that.
Sure, for sure.
Most of my inventory, it's somewhere around 8 to 12 per unit right now, and most of it I've been getting it from Anaheim. I have my stores here in Houston, and I travel every Wednesday. I get up at 4 a.m. and drive 4 hours, to be in San Antonio at 8 a.m. And the only reason I do that is one, for service. They have a Class A facility there, that with wonderful people running the operation. And by the time I'm coming back, at an hour back on my drive back, I already know what I bought and I didn't buy. I wish I can say the same thing about the dealership. About the auction, Mannheim auction that I got 6 miles away from my dealership. That's where I should be buying. But you go where you get service. I've always tried, to make the auctions understand that the years of throwing us a keychain or a hat or a T-shirt from the podium, those are over. Now we demand respect. And more than that is that I demand them to respect the time that I take to go to buy at their auction. So if I bought something on NIF, or if I bought something, where I need a little bit of help, I expect them to help me out and to go and buy what I need and get out of there and, and be able to know what I bought. But sometimes you go to an auction, where you bought 25 vehicles, probably like 6 or 8 are on NIF, and you don't know whether you bought them or not a week later. And 2 weeks down the road, they sent you a bill and they said like, oh, what the hell, I didn't think this passed or didn't pass post inspection. But when you have a good relationship with an auction, you try to stay there. It's just like where we get our financing. Most of us get our financing from local sources, and that's where we stayed for a long time. And mainly the reason for that is the service that they give us. So for me, it's Anaheim, San Antonio, and I'm happy with the relationship I got with them, and I guess they're happy with me as long as the checks go through.
That's the most important part.
Yeah, I think the best thing I learned out of that is you go where you get service.
Yeah.
I love that saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the other things that are going on, this was interesting to find out, is the IRS, and they're not hunting down people who've been delinquent. They're actually there to answer questions at the conference. So the IRS will be there.
Ooh.
What's
That's
that?
fun.
Oh, I thought you asked who.
No, it's a ooh.
Yeah.
That's actually really good. So when I say we, the NI, as a member of the NIADA and going to the conferences in the past, we've had members. I don't remember IRS. Yeah, we actually did have IRS come to one in DC years ago. But we've had people from the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, come and talk to us. We've had people from the FTC come and talk to us. So I commend the NIADA for having the ability to get think about the IRS. I mean, it sounds pretty like ominous, like these guys are coming to talk to us. Like, who wants to hear that IRS is coming to talk to you? But honestly, that's the best. That's the best platform because you're able to ask them questions that are very vital to your business. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I
And
would
if we
agree.
didn't mention, the FTC is going to be there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So with the upcoming safeguards, that's a biggie.
Yeah.
And that's a good point, Dan.
That's great.
And then on the digital marketing side, so aside from legislation and things that are hot topics and vehicle acquisition, we also have what's going on in the world of analytics. So I think most people probably know by now, but Google is switching over to something called GA4. And that's a whole new way of measuring your website and various platforms that you might have Google Analytics plugged into already or not, and working with digital consultants and all that kind of stuff. And the switchover has, with all the stuff that's being talked about, can seem a little daunting. So there'll be people there to help with that as well, discuss what it means and things of that nature. And then, of course, the last one that's worth mentioning, I believe, well, there's quite a few worth mentioning, but the big one, of course, Sugar Ray Leonard. So
that's pretty
That's
awesome.
right.
That's right. It's my favorite saying right now, by the way. I've been saying that since I met a new friend from Mississippi that says that all the time. That's right. And he sounds like Matthew McConaughey when he says it. So I'm but yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard, that's pretty cool. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've heard
I think,
he does quite a few speeches like this, different conferences and such. Yeah, I've always been a
I think
fan.
he will be sharing. He will be sharing how to build a mindset for overcoming adversity and developing a power to win mindset. That is really amazing from someone like him, right?
Yeah.
And I understand that we also have Michael Cirillo. He's a CEO from Flex Dealer, and he's a chief of staff of automotive of the State of the Union and a host of the Dealer Playbook podcast. So two amazing guys, for this conference, I cannot think about, when we had two keynote speakers, in a good while. So good for Jeff Martin.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's awesome. How involved are you with you mentioned having a BDC? I'm curious to how large that is. How many people are manning the BDC?
We do have 4 people right now in the BDC. Like about our sales are somewhere around 80 sales a month. I was doing a little more than that, and but I was always trying to. I was always at the same time I was trying to comply with my debt-free commitment that I had with my 20 group. Which we started a plan. Somewhere around 5-6 years ago, and we managed to get to the end of it last year. So with the BDC, we have 4 people, and we did move the BDC. We were having problems, having the BDC here in the Houston area. And the other things that were happening is that the people that we had here were leaking information to some other people and selling our leads, basically. So we ended up moving the BDC to Monterrey, Mexico, where it's currently operating. And it's like I said, 90% of my sales are appointments only, and we can have a better control of the rates of the people that are coming in and what am I converting, to sales. One of the problems that I see, is that in the digital media and Facebook and all these platforms is that, we get a lot of hits, but not a lot of sales from them. So I need more sales than hits. So that's how we are able to manage the BDC. We have a
Okay.
manager overlooking at that, and four representatives working the deals out. Lately in my 20 group, I have seen the switch from the BDC side of keeping up with the appointments and all kind of that, and wandering in the area of collection overseas.
Oh, okay.
I think with the BDC, you're it sound especially in your business model, Juan, you're probably getting a much more prepared buyer. You know, like the buyers when they come to buy the car for underwriting purposes, because the BDC's probably uniform on what they tell them. Hey, bring this with you, bring that. You know, and then now your buyer's ready to roll. So that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, the conversion that we have is somewhere around 60% once they are on our lot.
Oh, that's
Nice.
strong.
So
Mm-hmm.
Very
it's
strong.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Dan, how do you deal with that? Do you guys have a BDC, or you just deal with the
Not
salespeople all
officially.
the way
Not
through?
officially. We should. We do a lot of cradle to grave, but we have a manager oversee every deal, make sure it's everything's all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. We have ladies at both offices that will follow up with customers after sale, but before sale, we don't really have a BDC. We really do. We need one. I mean, it's round robin. The leads are coming from all these sites, and they show up in the salesperson's inbox, and they go. We manage them and reassign if we have to, but I need a BDC. I mean, that's probably my biggest downfall right now as a dealer. Uh, for what we do, the two locations, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
I'm almost embarrassed to say I don't have a BDC. Isn't that crazy? I've been listening to this for about 10 years now. I need one.
You
Well,
know,
I wouldn't be embarrassed about it. A lot of dealerships put up BDCs, and a year to 2 years later, they've dissolved it. You
Yeah.
really got,
Yeah,
it's really got to make sense. It's really,
yeah,
I've always heard the most important part is making sure that you've got someone that knows how to effectively manage the BDC.
correct. And
So a lot of
control it.
dealerships, they'll put those up, and then, the manager will move on to another group or another dealership. And it's so difficult to find that person that can fill that void that really knows how to manage the BDC.
That is correct. That is a struggle all the time.
Mm-hmm.
if I could give a little
And
advice on that front,
the other part on the BDC is, the training. We got to be there like every 90 days with our trainer. You gotta have someone listening to the phone calls and see how they're going. Then you see how many leads they are getting, how many appointments they are setting, and how many cars we are selling at the end. So, but
That's right.
in that process, training is really, really important. It's not just setting
Constant.
them
Yeah.
up and say, hey, listen, let's fly with it. You have to
Yeah.
manage it. You have to be on top of it. You got to know your metrics. You got to know your numbers.
Yeah. Ongoing training all the time. What I'm just curious for myself, what CRM are you using?
Um, we have what used to be um, uh, wars, wars something. I'll get it for you right away. Um, it's a car research, but I
Okay.
think they
Right.
have
I'm
changed the
familiar.
name. Yeah, within the last 2 years, probably, the car research has been changed names, but what it used to be car research. Yeah.
and
So
Dan,
we use an internally built one, and I know that sounds crazy, but we've gone with every major CRM you could think of, whether it was a $500 a month or $2,500 a month. And the thing is, they're only as good as what you put in. So
That's right.
Yeah.
we built one out of Google, surprisingly, out of Google. Yeah, we're very
Wow.
Google based. We're a Google based business, and you can make anything in Google. We have call logs and traffic logs and every other possible thing based on Google, and all of our employees have the drive, so everything goes through there. And I learned it from a Russian friend, and it's great because he was in my 20 group, and he had 7 stores, and that's what he was using. And
Are you serious? That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's not from Indiana,
Very
is
cool.
he?
No, Massachusetts.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Dan, before you go build a BDC yourself, since you haven't done one yet, I would advise outsourcing to start. Just learn a few things from the other company, and
Yeah.
then decide if it's worth your while to bring that in house.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the things I want to see when I go to the convention every year, and I've only missed two of them since 2009. Every time I go there, I'll look at the who's in the hall, and I try to like kind of narrow it out to say, okay, who's at NIADA that I want to see? Is it a website? Is it payment processing? Is it service related? Is it whatever? And actually, the outsourcing of BDC is important. I know there's a couple good ones out there, so we'll see if they're in the hall.
Yeah, it looks like there's only going to be 200 some exhibitors there, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be at
few
least
to
one.
choose from.
They literally have everything in there. And I was like, what's crazy is they have everything from a guy that's got a small booth in the back selling an amazing touch-up kit, for your cars, to the big Cox Automotive thing up front. It doesn't matter. It's like everything in the car world is pretty much in that room. So the one
Sounds
thing,
like-
yeah,
Sounds a lot like NADA.
it is very, very similar, actually. Extremely similar. I just geared a little more towards the independent, but there's still stuff for the 10 car a month guy, and there's stuff for the 500 car a month guy. So there's literally something in there for everybody.
Yeah, I think Dan touched a good point in there. I don't know if you know, but somewhere around 65 to 70% of the base of NIDA, I believe, sells somewhere around 20 to 25 cars a month. So we want to talk to that people too. The majority of them will heard like, okay, this guy is selling 100 cars, 150 cars, that they are not on my league. But believe me, on NIDA, and the focus of NIDA will be to try to get you to the next level. If you're that dealer, that is out there selling 15 cars a month and you want to go to your 20, 25 cars a month, this is the place to come and learn about it. If you're doing 25 units, 30 units, the place to come and learn how to go from 25 to 35, it's the convention that we're going to have. So it's really important for us to talk to those dealers, who are out there, struggling, with 20, 25 deals a month, and you want to go to the next level, you want to do 30, 35. This is the place to come and learn about it. This is not the place. This is the place, especially if you're a new dealer. I don't know, if I were to be a new dealer right now, it's a must for you to come and be part of this association and be part of the convention, because the stuff that you will take, you will walk away with a wealth of information. And nowadays, with all the risk and everything that we have to take in order to go and take one step up, it's a lot of money. So a mistake that you might make for not being compliant or not doing the things that you're supposed to do, it will cost you more money. So if you're selling 20 cars or 25 cars and you want to go to the next step up, this is the place to come. To be able to sit down, with any of these young men right here, Dan or anybody else, which they will do, to talk to them, and sit down and have a cocktail, dinner, or whatever at the convention. It's a wealth of information that these guys can provide for you. So if you're selling, 10, 20 cars a month, and you're thinking about, what is my next step up? Your next step up, the first thing that you need to do is pick up the phone, or get to the website and register yourself to the convention and meet any of these young men here, they will be more than willing to give you up information, how they went from A to B and from B to C. So it is important for you guys to know that the NIDA is here to serve you too.
Yeah.
Well, like Dan said earlier, you said earlier, Dan, one of the biggest benefits is the networking aspect of it.
100%. What's crazy is like I'm thinking back in our history, and I was saying before, like I didn't have any formal training in the car business at all. And I had this mentality, this mindset: if I don't go, I won't grow. I was like, I gotta go. So
Right.
up until 2015, from '98 to 2015, we were buy here, pay here, and then I switched to retail. I didn't know anything about retail, but I went to these events, right? And like now I have 2 retail dealerships that are both number 1 dealer in both counties on volume and customer service and Google ranking. And why did it get that way? Because of the networking, because of the ability to sit down and talk to people, preferably over cocktails than dinner, but just having those conversations. It could be a conversation in a hallway that just is like, wow, why didn't I think about that?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Well, the details for the event are at NIADAconvention.com, and it is June 19th through the 22nd at the Wynn in Las Vegas. And for members right now through May 15th, it's $495. So
Not bad.
pretty good deal.
Yeah,
it's a steal.
And the Wynn doesn't suck.
It is.
that's right.
The wind doesn't suck. So usually there's a slogan. There's a slogan for the event, for the convention. Can you go? Did you see on the website what it was?
I
Let's see.
was
doesn't
on
really
there earlier.
Well, Accelerate is the name of the convention.
I think Juan needs to get paid, and we need to switch it up to level up.
Yes.
Level up.
Step up.
I think
Yeah.
you both at least deserve autographs from Sugar Ray. So
Exactly.
I'm gonna ask Mr. Martin for a $25 coupon to the casino. That's all.
There you go. Wouldn't it be a shit if you turned that into a couple thousand?
That'd be great.
Yes.
well, gentlemen,
Well,
thank you so much for,
really
for
appreciate it.
representing. Yeah.
Likewise. Are you guys
NIADA.
going? Are you guys going to be there?
Not this year. And I've never been to one of the NIADA conventions, but it's definitely in future vision.
Yeah, you need to go. All right, Juan, I'll see you there then.
We'll
Cool.
see you there, and I hope that, all these dealers out there, that they see the challenges that they are in front of them, and with all the regulations and rules and challenges in general, so let's turn these challenges into opportunities, and let's meet at the convention, and let's make the association, better than what already is.
Sure.
Awesome. All right, gentlemen. Have a good time out there and a great weekend.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Correct.
Thank you.
You got it.